ओम दक्षिणामूर्ति समारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमां अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वंदे गुरु परंपरां. This video explores certain confusions which have occurred in the teaching of non-traditional Advaita Vedanta. Masters of traditional Advaita Vedanta have observed certain points or issues wherein they feel that the proper purport of Advaita Vedanta is not being covered. Let us now examine 7 of these points briefly, so that it will help us in our better understanding of the teachings, and this will also help us to gain some clarity. The 7 points are wherein there is some misconception or confusion in the teaching of Advaita Vedanta are: first, Vedanta being considered as a school of thought or philosophy. Second, the Atma Ananda or bliss confusion. Third, knowledge and realization confusion. Fourth, multi-paths confusion. Fifth, confusion that moksha is attained through a thought-free state of mind. Sixth, Vasana Kshaya. And seventh, misconceptions about Karma Yoga. Nasti akrita kritena, says the Mundaka Upanishad, meaning the uncreated is not created by any action. The uncreated or Sat or existence is not produced by any action. The Chandogya Upanishad says, Sadeva Saumya Idamagra Asit. That is, before creation, this world existed only as Sat. The Atman is this Sat, also called as Satya, which is within us. Knowledge of this Sat as oneself is the highest Purushartha, the Parama Purushartha. The Chandogya Upanishad also presents this ultimate knowledge of freedom from as freedom from sorrow in the here and now, and also as freedom from the cycle of samsara, life of becoming in the now. Now let us take up this first point. Vedanta considered as a school of thought or philosophy. The subject matter of Vedanta is Atman, which can never be a school of thought. Any thought regarding the Atman is a speculation. Vyasa says Vedanta is a means of knowledge. It's a pramana for knowing the Atman being Brahman. Vedanta is included among the schools of philosophy, and this is not justified. The subject matter of Vedanta is Paramanantara Anhadigatam, one that various means of knowledge such as perception and inference have access to. The Veda is Swatapramana, an independent means of knowledge, whose purpose is only to reveal the oneness of Atman with Brahman. Vedanta is not a pramana to prove the existence of Atman, for Atman is self-evident and self-existent. I repeat, the Veda is a pramana whose purpose is only to reveal the oneness of Atman with Brahman, and it is not a pramana to prove the existence of Brahman. So its inclusion among the Shat Darshanas is debatable. Coming to the next point, There is a lot of confusion between the Atman and bliss, this Ananda. Brahman is presented in the Shastras as Ananda. This word is frequently a cause for confusion. Brahman is presented in Taittiriya Upanishad. Brahman is presented in Taittiriya Upanishad as Satyam Gnanam Anantam, which is also equivalent to Satchit Ananda. Ananda means Ananta or limitlessness. Ananta is similar to Satya. Due to Ananta, Satya is released from the threefold limitations of space, time and object. Deshakala Vastu Aparichinnam Anantam. When Ananda is described as Swarupa of Atman, its translation is not bliss, but limitlessness. When used in an experiential way, it denotes bliss. This is the cause for confusion between Ananta and Ananda. Now there are said to be three types of bliss or Ananda: Vishayananda, Vidyananda, Yogananda. Vishayananda is the bliss which arises due to sensory experiences. Vidyananda is the bliss which arises due to discovery through knowledge. Yogananda is the bliss which arises due to the practices of yoga, etc. All these three are Swarupananda only. So the word Ananda is used to draw the attention of the seeker to oneself as the source of all Ananda. It means the seeker is limitlessness, fullness, which is experienced as happiness in the mental realm. Now coming to the third point, knowledge and realization confusion. There is a differentiation made among some teachings between self-knowledge and self-realization. Self-knowledge is taken as intellectual knowledge and self-realization is taken as experiential knowledge. Shruti is the means of knowledge to recognize the self, which is Nitya Aparoksha, always present. So there is no cause for differentiation between self-knowledge and self-realization. So this differentiation between these two is not warranted. Now coming to the next fourth point, the confusion arising due to multiple paths. There is a belief that knowledge can be gained in four ways, each of which is called a yoga: Gnana, Bhakti, Karma and Raja or Hatha yogas. Bhagavad Gita in the third chapter says, Lokesmin Vividha Nishtaha. There are only two committed lifestyles for moksha: sannyasa and karma. Sannyasa yoga, meaning Dana yoga, is for sannyasa, and karma yoga is for the karma path. The life of sannyasa means a commitment to the pursuit of self-knowledge to the exclusion of any other purushartha. Sannyasa does not have any obligatory duties. The karma yoga lifestyle also involves commitment to pursuit of knowledge, but along with karma as yoga. Knowledge is pursued along with obligatory duties is called karma yoga. The basic issue being ignorance and error, which is the cause for avidya. The solution is knowledge alone, and there is no choice. The next point for confusion is that moksha is achieved through a thought-free mind. There is a belief that self-realization happens by elimination of all thoughts in the mind. If absence of thought is self-knowledge, then everyone is enlightened, because everyone sleeps. And in sleep, deep sleep, there is an absence of thought. If absence of thought for a split second is not enlightenment. Absence of thought for an extended period of time is also not enlightenment. Because in some schools of yoga, samadhi is described as extended period of thoughtlessness, and this is described as realization. The knowledge that I am nirvikalpa, meaning thought-free and divisionless, in spite of the experience of vikalpa, is entirely different from a state wherein there is absence of thought. Prati bodha viditam matam. Bodham bodham prati viditam, says the Kena Upanishad. Meaning, in every form of knowledge, Atman is understood by the discriminative as the invariable. That is, the Atman is the substratum for all experiences. So whether the mind is in samadhi or with thoughts, in both the states, the Swarupa of Atman is present. Now, Mithya is defined as Adhisthana Ananyat, that which is non-separate from its cause. Thought is Atman, but Atman is not just a thought. Thought is dependent on its existence on Atman. A wave is not independent of water. You need not remove the wave in order to see the water. So if the thinker, the thought, and what is thought of, that is the Triputis, are dependent on the Atman, you do not have to remove any of them to recognize the Atman. All three are Atman, while Atman is not any of them. And coming to the next point of confusion, Vasana Kshaya. There is a concept that Atman has become Jiva due to Vasanas or past impressions. Vasanas which are a result of karma phala like Papa and Punya. And it is said that the exhaustion of these Vasanas is to be taken as self-realization. So it's a path of purification. Vasanas are Mithya and therefore do not pose a problem if it is understood properly as Mithya. And therefore, the exhaustion of Vasanas is not necessary for moksha. It is also not possible for an individual to exhaust all Vasanas which is collected in innumerable births in one lifetime. The Atman is Asanga, not affected by anything. Vasana Kshaya is used purely with reference to preparedness of mind, that is for Antakarana Shuddhi. There are three types of Vasanas: Vishaya Vasana, Deha Vasana and Shastra Vasana. Now it is said that in the Shastra that these three types of Vasanas should be exhausted. Not all the impressions used by the general term Vasana. Now Vishaya Vasana is the belief that objects will give us security and happiness. By Vichara we have to remove this superimposition to become an Adhikari. Deha Vasana is the feeling that I am the body. It's the I am the body Vasana which has to be removed through Vichara. Shastra Vasana is the craving for the study of Shastras other than Vedanta. Commitment to Vedanta Vichara can remove this Vasana. The above three Vasanas are not the cause for Atman to become Jiva. Jivatva is a superimposition upon Atman due to ignorance. The Swarupa of Atman is ever free from Jivatva. So these three Vasana Kshayas are required for Chitta Shuddhi only. Coming to the seventh point regarding Karma Yoga. A lot of confusions are there regarding Karma Yoga too. Usually Karma Yoga is explained as performing actions without expecting any results. Karma Yoga is defined as selfless action. Karma Yoga is defined as skill in action, etc. But Karma Yoga can be defined as If a mumukshu of moksha performs nitya naimittika karma for antakarana shuddhi, it is karma yoga. Let me repeat. A mumukshu of moksha performing nitya naimittika karma for antakarana shuddhi is karma yoga. If a person interested in dharma, artha and kama performs the same above actions, it is not karma yoga, because the motivation is not moksha. Now, yoga is skill in action, they say. Not necessarily so, because a robber, for example, a robber may be skilled, highly skilled in his actions, which is a robbery, but it is not karma yoga. Serving a larger cause is said to be karma yoga, but it is not necessarily karma yoga, as the cause may be nothing but an expression of a group ego. Example, nationalism, religious activism, all good in a sense, but it is not necessarily karma yoga. Dharmayadi yuddhat shreyonyat kshatriyasya na vidyate, says the Bhagavad Gita. As long as one performs an action in keeping with dharma, whether one likes the action or not, one is a karma yogi. Even if an action is performed for the sake of fulfilling one's likes and dislikes, that is raga and dvesha, as long as it is not against dharma, if one takes the result of action as prasada of Ishvara, then it is karma yoga. For example, building a house is fulfillment of a desire or raga. Building this house without violating dharma and offering this house to the divine as karma phala during griha pravesha, and then in turn taking this as prasada from the divine to live in that house as per dharma. If the motivation, primary motivation is moksha, then all such activities are karma yoga. Let me repeat once again. If moksha is the primary motivation of a mumukshu, ragas can be there, desires can be there. To take an example, the mumukshu builds a house having a desire for building a house. He builds this house without violating dharma. During the Griha Pravesha, the house is offered to the divine as karma phala, and in turn it is taken as the prasada from the divine to live in that house as per dharma. All such activities are examples of karma yoga. So, we have seen how certain non-traditional teachings of Advaita Vedanta deviate from the traditional Sampradaya teachings of Advaita Vedanta. In a few points we have covered, that is Vedanta considered as a school of thought, confusion regarding the Ananda aspect, differentiation between knowledge and realization, the multiple paths confusion, the concept of moksha being attained through a thought-free state, then the concept that moksha can be achieved only when vasana eradication happens, and also the various different confusions regarding karma yoga. Hope this acts as a barometer for identifying the true Sampradayic teachings when we come across such teachings. This is an aid to help us and not a criticism. Om Namo Bhagavate